Welcome to another deep dive.
Mm,
Today, we're going to be doing something really cool. We're going to be looking at personal finance,
sure.
but we're going to be looking at it through a lens that you might not expect. We're going to be using Dave Ramsey's 7 Baby Steps, and we're going to be connecting that to Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
That's a fascinating combination.
Yeah, it is. So for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with Dave Ramsey,
Yeah.
he's a personal finance guru. He's got this really popular radio show, and he's got these 7 baby steps, which is kind of like a roadmap to get out of debt and to really get a hold of your personal finances.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Sun Tzu's The Art of War is like this ancient Chinese military treatise that people study to this day for leadership and strategy and all sorts of things.
Yeah, and our source material actually goes through and connects each of the baby steps to a principle in the art of war.
Yeah, which is super interesting.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that. So baby step 1 is all about creating that starter emergency fund. It's that 1,000 euro to kind of give you a little bit of a cushion. And our source material says that that connects to know yourself in the art of war.
Makes sense because you can't go into battle without knowing yourself.
Yeah.
And you can't really get a hold of your finances until you know yourself.
Right.
So that means that you need to know where your money's going.
Yeah.
You need to track your spending. You need to see what your income is. And you need to just understand where you're at financially before you can make any big moves.
So it's like reconnaissance.
Exactly.
Before you actually
Before you
start
go into battle.
attacking anything, you need to understand the lay of the land.
Exactly.
And also, knowing yourself may mean that for you, 1,000 euro isn't the right number. Maybe you live in a place that's super expensive, or maybe you've got a lot of dependents, or maybe you just know that you need a little bit more to feel secure.
Mm-hmm.
So that might mean that you need to adjust that to your personal situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about adapting it to your own unique circumstances.
All right, so once we've done that reconnaissance, we kind of know ourselves financially, so we can move on to baby step 2, which is paying off all debt using the debt snowball method.
Okay, so the debt snowball method is this idea of listing out all of your debts from smallest to largest,
Okay.
and then you focus on paying off the smallest one first, regardless of the interest rate.
Huh.
Once that's done, you take all of the money that you were paying on that first debt and you roll it into the next smallest debt, and so on and so forth, creating this kind of snowball effect.
So it's almost like a mind game, almost as much as it is like a...
Totally. It's like a psychological hack.
Yeah, okay.
And the source material connects this to Sun Tzu's idea of attack by stratagem.
Okay, I like that.
So what that means is that you're using clever tactics to kind of outsmart your opponent, and in this case, your opponent is debt.
Right, so you're outsmarting your debt by like...
By going for the small wins first. Those small wins build momentum. They boost your morale. They make you feel like, okay, I can do this. I can get out of debt. And then you just keep rolling with that momentum until all of your debt is gone.
I like that. I mean, I think that's a big part of why sometimes people struggle with getting out of debt is that it feels so overwhelming.
Right.
But if you can start with something small, even if it's just like a small credit card balance or something like that, and you can knock that out and you're like, oh, I did it. You know,
It's like that sense of accomplishment.
Totally.
And then it makes you want to tackle the next thing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So you're not just blindly attacking. You're thinking strategically about how to defeat the enemy, which is debt.
Exactly. And Sun Tzu was a master of that.
Nice. All right, so baby step 3 is all about creating a fully funded emergency fund. So this is different from that initial 1,000 euro.
Yeah.
This is now 3 to 6 months of expenses.
Yeah, now that you've got a little bit of a cushion, it's time to really build up your defenses.
Right.
So this is your protection against any unexpected storms that might come your way.
So like job loss, medical bills?
Yeah, car repairs, anything like that.
Okay.
You need to have that money set aside so that you're not thrown completely off course if something unexpected happens.
So it's kind of like your fortress.
It is.
It's your protection.
Your financial fortress.
Yeah, I like that. And our source material connects this to defense in the art of war.
Absolutely. So Sun Tzu talks about how invincibility lies in defense.
Okay.
He knew that having a strong defense was absolutely crucial for any kind of victory.
So it's not just about being prepared for a rainy day. It's about like giving yourself the freedom to actually make strategic decisions because you know that you're protected.
Yes,
If
exactly.
you know you've got that safety net, you can start thinking about, okay, how do I want to invest my money?
Right.
What other moves can I make?
Yeah.
How can I really start building wealth because I know that I'm not going to be completely derailed if something unexpected happens.
Yeah, you've got that security and that stability to operate from.
I like that analogy a lot. Okay, so baby step 4, which we're going to get into more in the next part,
Yeah.
is all about investing 15% of your household income for retirement.
All right, so now we're starting to think long term.
Right. This is the long game now.
This is where we start to see the real power of strategy and planning.
Right. And this is like, I'm already thinking like Sun Tzu planning his battles decades in advance.
Absolutely.
It's that kind of strategic thinking.
A long-term vision.
And our source connects this step to planning in the art of war.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Sun Tzu placed a huge emphasis on planning and calculating every move very carefully before you actually make it.
Yeah.
And this is where we really see the power of compound interest come into play as well.
Oh, yeah. Dave Ramsey loves talking about compound interest.
Oh, yeah. He's all about it.
Yeah.
And for good reason. It's like this secret weapon that can help you build wealth over time.
So how does that actually work, though? What is compound interest?
Well, imagine you plant a tiny little seed, right? It sprouts, it grows roots, it eventually becomes this strong tree, and over time, that tree produces its own seeds which fall to the ground and sprout new trees. And before you know it, you've got a whole forest all stemming from that one tiny little seed.
I'm seeing where you're going with this.
All right, so that initial seed is like your initial investment.
Okay.
And the new trees are the returns that you're generating on that investment.
Okay.
So just like that forest grows exponentially, your investments can multiply over time thanks to compound interest.
So the earlier you plant that seed, the bigger your forest is going to be.
Exactly. That's why starting early with retirement savings is so crucial.
Okay. I'm definitely starting to see the wisdom in this.
Yeah, and we'll dive even deeper into that in the next part.
Perfect. All right, so join us for part 2, where we'll continue to explore these baby steps and see how they connect to the brilliant strategies of Sun Tzu.
Sounds good.
Okay, so last time we were talking about compound interest, and you were about to explain it using a seed analogy.
Right, so think about this. You plant a tiny seed in the ground, and at first it doesn't look like much, but over time it sprouts, it grows roots, it eventually becomes this strong tree.
Yeah.
And as that tree grows, it starts producing its own seeds, right? Those seeds fall to the ground, they sprout new trees, and before you know it, you've got a whole forest all stemming from that one tiny seed.
Okay, so I'm seeing the connection here. The initial seed is like our initial investment.
Exactly.
And those new trees are the returns we're getting on that investment.
You got it. So just like that forest grows exponentially, so too can our investments with compound interest.
So it's like our money is making money.
Exactly. It's earning interest not just on the original amount you invested, but also on the accumulated interest.
Oh, so it's like interest on interest.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the longer you let that compound, the more powerful it becomes.
So that's why starting early with retirement savings is so important.
It's like giving your seed the most time to grow into a massive forest.
I love that analogy. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to baby step 5, saving for your children's college fund.
All right, so this is another big one for a lot of families.
Yeah, for sure. College is expensive.
Yeah, and it's interesting how our source material connects this step to diplomacy in the art of war.
Diplomacy. Okay, that seems a little bit out of left field.
I know, right? But it actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Okay, break it down for me.
So in Sun Tzu's world, diplomacy was often about achieving your objectives without engaging in direct conflict, right?
Okay, like avoiding a war altogether, if you can.
Exactly. It's about finding those clever ways to win without unnecessary bloodshed.
So how does that apply to saving for college?
Well, instead of just blindly saving a ton of money, maybe there are other ways to reduce the overall cost of education.
Okay, so like what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, scholarships for one, grants, financial aid, work-study programs. There are all sorts of options out there.
Yeah, I guess it's like you're exploring all the different avenues.
Exactly. And you're using your resources strategically to get the best possible outcome.
It's almost like you're negotiating with the college system.
In a way, yeah. It's like you're saying, hey, I want my child to get a great education, but I also don't want to be burdened with a mountain of debt.
Right, so it's about finding that balance.
Precisely. And Sun Tzu was a master of finding those win-win situations.
So we're not just throwing money at the problem, we're using our smarts to find a more strategic solution.
Exactly. And that's what diplomacy is all about.
That's a really cool way to look at it. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to baby step 6, paying off your home early.
All right, so this is where things start to get really interesting because now we're talking about some bigger financial decisions.
Yeah, at this point, we've tackled our smaller debts, we've got a solid emergency fund in place, and we're investing for retirement and college.
Right, so we're in a pretty strong position financially.
So should everyone just focus on paying off their mortgage as quickly as possible?
Well, not necessarily. It really depends on your individual circumstances, your goals, and your risk tolerance.
Okay.
Some people might prioritize investing in the stock market, for example, because they believe they can get a higher return on their money that way.
Okay, that makes sense.
While others might prefer the peace of mind that comes with owning their home outright.
Right. Having no mortgage payment hanging over their head.
Exactly. So there's no one-size-fits-all answer here.
It's about making the best decision for you.
Precisely. And our source material connects this step to maneuvering in the art of war.
Maneuvering. Interesting. So how does that connect to paying off the house?
Well, think about it. Sun Tzu emphasized the importance of knowing when to strike and when to conserve your resources, right?
Okay.
So in this case, it's about assessing your overall financial situation and making a strategic decision based on what's bound for you.
So it's not just about blindly rushing to pay off the mortgage. It's about making a calculated move.
Exactly. And sometimes the best move might be to focus on other financial goals, like investing or building up your other savings.
Okay, so it's all about that strategic thinking.
Precisely. You're the general of your own financial army.
I like that. All right, so finally we reach baby step 7, build wealth and give.
All right, so this is the culmination of all the previous steps.
This is like the ultimate victory.
Exactly. You've reached a level of financial freedom where you can not only build wealth, but also use it to make a positive impact on the world.
So it's not just about accumulating money for yourself.
Not at all. It's about using your wealth to help others, to support causes you believe in, to leave a legacy.
It's like you've won the war, and now you're using your resources to build a better world.
Beautifully put. And our source material connects this step to leadership in the art of war.
Leadership. Okay, I see the connection there.
Sun Tzu believed that true leadership was about inspiring others, not just commanding them.
Right, it's about leading by example.
Exactly. And in this context, it's about using your financial success to make a difference in the lives of others.
So it's like reaching the pinnacle of financial success and then using that success to lift others up.
You got it. It's
Oh.
about moving beyond personal gain and embracing a broader vision.
Wow, what an amazing journey this has been.
I know, right? It's incredible how much wisdom we can find in these ancient texts.
It really makes you think about personal finance in a whole new way.
Absolutely. It's not just about numbers and budgets. It's about strategy mindset and making a positive impact on the world.
And I think that's a perfect segue into our final part where we'll recap some of the key takeaways from this deep dive and leave our listeners with some food for thought.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
I think what's really cool about this whole thing is how it kind of reframes the way we think about personal finance.
Totally.
It's not just about like, pinching pennies and like trying to like, make ends meet. It's like, it's almost like we're playing a game.
It is a game.
It's a game of strategy.
Right.
And we're the players.
Absolutely.
And like you said, there are those 3 key takeaways like discipline, strategy, and flexibility.
Those are your tools.
Those are our tools in this game.
Yeah.
Like our weapons.
Your arsenal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to use them wisely if we want to win.
Right. And like any good game, it takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes time. You have to learn the rules. You have to develop your skills.
But it can be fun too,
Absolutely.
right? Like
Yeah.
once you start to see like, oh, I'm actually making progress, like I'm actually getting ahead,
You start to see the results.
it becomes a little bit addictive,
It does.
right? Like you want to keep playing, you want to keep getting better.
Yeah. And you realize that it's not as complicated as it might seem at first.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of like financial jargon and stuff that can be really intimidating.
Yeah.
But when you break it down to those basic principles, it's actually pretty simple.
It is.
It's like, okay, be disciplined, come up with a plan, be flexible, and you're good to go.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like there are resources out there. There are people who can help you.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do this all alone.
And remember, even Sun Tzu had his advisors.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up here, I just want to encourage everyone listening to really take this to heart. Like, don't just listen to this and then forget about it.
Yeah.
Like, actually sit down and think about your own finances.
Yeah. Think about your goals.
Your goals.
Your challenges. What are you struggling with? What are you good at?
What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
Yeah, and how can you use those tools, those principles of discipline, strategy, and flexibility to overcome those challenges and achieve those goals?
It's like you're the general of your own financial army.
You are in command.
You get to decide what battles to fight and how to fight them.
And you have the power to win.
So go forth and conquer your financial battlefield.
Absolutely.
And remember, like any good general, keep learning, keep adapting, and never give up.
That's the key.
All right, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.